Sean and I are now in the control center, I guess the nerve center for the Nevada Northern Railroad. And Sean, when we were looking around earlier, what really caught my eye immediately was all the medical equipment, the first aid equipment.
There's a reason for that. The reason was railroads were dangerous professions. When this railroad was completed in 1906, railroads were the single most dangerous profession in America. There were an extraordinary number of laborers, workers on the railroad who were hurt, maimed, or injured, or killed on railroads. And so as you walk around the Nevada Northern Railroad, you see safety first as our motto. And that was no accident. It was safety first because there were enormous injuries here. Now, fortunately, by the end of the railroad's operation, by the time they shut down in 1983, they were really very safe. And they needed to perfect that process of how to be safe. In the early history of the railroad, we didn't have that distinction of being enormously safe. What
were some of the injuries, like losing fingers, I imagine?
Brakemen were consistently losing fingers as the cars couple and come together like this. If your fingers are in the middle of that, you don't have fingers anymore. Losing parts of their hand, losing fingers, and on at least a couple of occasions, people walked between the cars and got coupled between cars. A number of injuries like that. We didn't have real grievous injuries like trains blowing up or boilers blowing or anything like that. Fortunately, some inventions came along that made that considerably safer. The air brake, invented by a man by the name of Westinghouse, meant that you could now stop the train from the locomotive, that you didn't have a brakeman running across the top of the train just trying to set the wheels by hand. So those inventions and a number of policies worked to make the railroad a safer place, far safer at the close of the railroad in 1983 than at the beginning of the railroad in 1906.
Well, this was quite an operation in this building itself.
It was a very large operation, and the Ely State Museum is housed in the administrative offices of the Nevada Northern Railroad. Building completed in 1907. The downstairs has the passenger waiting rooms. It has the baggage room that you would drop your bags off at and then go into the waiting rooms. We have two different waiting rooms, one for women, one for men. Early on in the first part of the last century, that was because women didn't want to be where men were smoking, chewing tobacco, spitting tobacco at the spittoon, generally missing, hitting the floor. A woman who'd be traveling by rail would be wearing her finest clothing, which meant a long dress or a long skirt. Well, she didn't want to walk across the floor where some slob had just spit tobacco spit. And so.
And plus, I heard yesterday that men would be swearing.
Men would be swearing, smoking cigars and pipes and cigarettes. They would have been considered vulgar for a woman in the early 20th century, in 1907, to be around that. The railroad was cognizant of that. The railroad built two different waiting rooms, one for men and one for women.
Now upstairs here, Sean, you've got this office equipment, incredible office equipment for the day.
Office equipment in a completely restored building. The building looked exactly like this in 1907 when the building was finished. Now, it didn't look like this when we acquired the building. It took a couple of years of work and effort and sweat to bring it to look like this. But you can step back in time here and look at exactly what it looked like, complete down to the office equipment. You're exactly right. The old typewriter from 1907 is still here. The original mimeograph machine, the forerunner to Xerox, it's still here.
Was it considered kind of cutting edge in its day?
It was in its day. We had the most up-to-date, the newest model of every typewriter and adding machine, mimeograph machine. That was all coming in. Now, keep in mind, this was a big business. The railroad was big business. Every railroad was big business. And ours was big business because the mine, the smelter, and the railroad were all the same company. And so if with several thousand employees, had there been a Fortune 500 in the early part of the 20th century, we would have been in probably one of the top 50 companies in America, one of the 50 largest companies in the United States, complete with the mine and all the mining in Ruth, complete with the railroading that shipped the copper ore to be smelted in McGill, and then shipping that out and north to.
Well, John, what is it that once people have ridden the train, they've had a sense of the past from actually riding the steam train, what does wandering through this museum give people?
This looks like a time machine. You step into the Ely State Museum and it's a time machine. You look back on exactly what it looked like in 1907. It becomes a portal to the past. You have the opportunity to share humanity with someone that came 100 years before you. That's a giant draw for all museums in the country. We have the artifacts here that link you to people that came before you. Maybe that's what museums do best.
So people can kind of wander through, look at individual artifacts, but then get the bigger story around those.
Sure. Well, the artifacts are here, and we have the story, and we're pleased to share that story with anybody who'd like to visit.
And it's a pretty exciting story. I mean, to think that Ely, Nevada was responsible for lighting up America.
We lit up America.
It's pretty neat. Well, I want to encourage everybody who's watching this to make it out to the State Museum in Ely. Ely is, how would you describe it?
We're 240 miles north of Las Vegas and about 5.5 hours west of Reno.
How many hours is that from Vegas then?
Well, 3.5 if you drive like
Depending
I
on how you drive. 3.5 hours, 5 hours or so from Reno. And it's cooler than Las Vegas in the summer.
Oh yeah, it's like we air condition the outside out here. We rarely get 90 degrees. It's a wonderful place to come in the summertime if you're from Las Vegas. It's cool, it's nice, and abundant recreational activities.
You've got the Lehman Caves.
Lehman Caves, Great Basin
National Park, a wonderful place to come to.
A number of state parks surround us as well. Cave Lake State Park, Ward Charcoal Oven State Park. We have ghost towns, we have train rides, we have historical museums, we got it all.
Do you love Ely by any chance?
Yeah, if I'm a little bit biased, it's because I live here. Yeah.
But Sean's absolutely right, it's wonderful.
Well, I think it's great. It's just a bunch of fun, and I'd recommend it to anybody.
My mom likes steam trains.
Watch right around here.
I know.
Thanks for joining us on this edition of Exploring Nevada on television. But if you'd like to ride these rails and explore Ely's rich history for yourself, call the East Ely Railroad Depot Museum at 775-289-1663 or visit them on the web at nevadaculture.org or elynevada.net. The Nevada Division of Museums and History operates 6 other museums around the state: the State Museum and the State Railroad Museum, both in Carson City, Lost City Museum at Lake Mead, the State Museum and Historical Society in Las Vegas, the Historical Society in Reno, and under construction, an historic tourist railroad in Boulder City. See you next time on Exploring Nevada.